Operation Deliberate Force. In the summer of 1995, the conflict in Bosnia and Herzegovina had reached a boiling point. For 3 years, the international community had watched helplessly as ethnic cleansing, mass rapes, and civilian massacres unfolded across the former Yugoslavia. Sarajevo had become a city under siege, snipers picking off civilians, and mortar shells raining down on marketplaces and hospitals. The Srebrenica massacre, in which over 8,000 Bosniak men and boys were executed by Bosnian Serb forces, shocked the conscience of the world. NATO, which had maintained a cautious stance through most of the war, now faced a moral and strategic tipping point. Operation Deliberate Force was its answer. Launched on August 30, 1995, Operation Deliberate Force was a large-scale air campaign carried out by NATO against the Army of Republika Srpska, Bosnian Serb forces entrenched around Sarajevo and other key locations. It was NATO's most significant military engagement up to that point, involving over 400 aircraft from 15 nations, flying out of bases in Italy and from aircraft carriers in the Adriatic Sea.
This wasn't just a show of force. It was a calibrated strike meant to break the military back of the Bosnian Serbs and force them to the negotiating table. The operation had a clear objective: degrade the Bosnian Serb military's ability to attack safe zones and compel them to comply with UN Security Council resolutions. NATO jets targeted command posts, communication facilities, ammunition depots, and artillery positions, particularly those threatening Sarajevo. What made Deliberate Force different from previous NATO actions was its intensity and resolve. For 2 weeks, NATO aircraft conducted precision strikes day and night, using advanced munitions and intelligence to avoid civilian casualties while maximizing military impact. The campaign was not without risk. NATO pilots flew into hostile airspace equipped with surface-to-air missile systems. One American F-16 was shot down, and its pilot, Scott O'Grady, was rescued in a daring operation. The risks underscored the seriousness of the mission, but also NATO's commitment to ending the violence. Operation Deliberate Force was also notable for its close coordination with UN forces on the ground, a departure from the earlier, more fractured efforts in Bosnia. NATO finally had a clear mandate and operational freedom to act decisively, and it used that mandate to apply overwhelming pressure. Within days, Bosnian Serb air defenses were crippled, supply lines severed, and their capacity to wage war severely diminished. The results were swift. Faced with unrelenting airstrikes and the sudden vulnerability of their forces, Bosnian Serb leaders agreed to a ceasefire. This paved the way for the Dayton Peace Accords, signed later that year, which brought an end to the war. Operation Deliberate Force had done what diplomacy alone could not. It shifted the balance on the ground and created the conditions necessary for peace. But the operation's significance went beyond Bosnia. It marked a turning point in NATO's evolution, from a defensive alliance rooted in Cold War doctrine to an active security provider willing to use force for humanitarian ends. It set a precedent for future interventions in Kosovo and Libya, and it proved that NATO could operate with precision and purpose in complex conflict zones. Operation Deliberate Force remains one of NATO's most important and successful military campaigns. It was a demonstration of resolve, of the power of air dominance, and of what can happen when the world refuses to stand by in the face of mass atrocity. It wasn't just about defeating artillery or disabling radar. It was about stopping a war that had gone on for far too long, and in that mission, it succeeded.